you are not able to move it. But as you can see, there are different bones that are coming together, right? So also if you see that, let me just zoom into one part, okay, and then we will go more about it. So as you can see here, now what I am zooming into is a portion of our hand, alright. So this here, as you can see, this is the hand, alright. And more specifically, what we are going to understand is the elbow part of our hand. So where is our elbow? Right here, right? And how we are able to move our hands like this? Yes? And in this image, you can see how two bones are coming together. So the point where two bones come together and meet in such a way that it is able to move. So that's very, very important to remember, alright? The point where two bones meet and help in movement is known as a joint, alright? And we see that there are so many different types of joints in our body. So if you see, because so many different bones are obviously being connected to one another, right? So now, for example, if we were to see how our elbow moves and how the bones are moving, let's actually go watch this quick video that is right here, alright? So this is how we are able to move our elbow. What I want you to focus here is how the bones are moving. Alright, so this right here, what we need to see is how the bones are moving. Can you see how two bones, they are coming together and they are forming a joint? Yes, this is what we need to understand what a joint is. It's the place where these two bones are meeting and some movement is happening. Do we have all one type of joints all over our body? Because we have 206 bones, right? I mean, they could all be joined the same way. But no, we actually don't have the same type of joints. We have different types of joints. So we will be learning about all of them one by one. So let's go back. And now let us see the first type of joint, that is the hinge joint. Alright, so as we've already seen the movement in the elbow, right? We saw how the movement of how the elbow was moving. We see it moves out like this and comes back inside, right? So you see there is a front motion and a back motion. So that here is the hinge joint. Now why do we use this term hinge? What is a hinge? So it's nothing but a part or a metallic part or maybe a wooden part that you see at the door that helps you fix the door to a point. So just to make this a little more easier, I made my own paper door. Okay, I know I'm very bad at drawing about this, so I'm sorry about that. Now, as you can see here on this blue part, I have made these slight markings here. That is the blue part. Okay, so I hope you get to see this clearly. So this here is the hinge. Now, as you can see, alright, so you can see it's opening and closing. So if I want to open the door, I would open it like this. And then I'm going to close the door. Similarly, you see this sort of movement in our elbows as well. As you can see right here in this model, you see that it is having a front and back motion, and one part of it here. This here is the hinge that I have just highlighted, and we see this in our elbows. Alright, so this is how our elbows move. Also, we see that they are there in our knees as well. So now if you see in our knees, you see a similar type of movement. Alright, so now imagine if you were just sitting, okay, and you are sitting right now and you try to move your knees, okay. I want you to move your knees. Can you see that front and back motion that we just discussed about? Yes, that is because of which joint? The hinge joint. That is there where all elbows and knees. And I told you it's there in our fingers also. So try doing this. Can you see it is front and it comes back to normal. So front and back. This here again is because of the hinge joint. This thing that I'm just doing right now, this movement is possible because of the hinge joint. So that was all about the hinge joint. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to look right and I want you to look left. Then I want you to look up and then I want you to look down. So we are able to look right and left and up and down, and maybe I'm able to rotate my head also. See, I'm able to rotate it like this and get it back. How am I able to achieve this? How is it possible? That is because of another joint that is there, that is your pivotal joint or pivot joint. But before I go much in detail about this joint, we need to understand what is a pivot. So this seems like a very new term, right? What is a pivot? So again, to explain this clearly, I have a marker here, alright, and I have an empty bottle. So let me just open this bottle. Okay, now this marker here is fixed. So it cannot move anywhere, alright, but what you see here is that when I keep this on top of that, okay, so I'm keeping this bottle on top of the marker. Alright, now you can see that because it's fixed here, this is able to move. Okay, so I hope you can see this. This is able to move. Okay, so here, this marker right here, it is the fixed portion which does not move. Okay, upon which you have something that is placed which helps you move here, or which is able to rotate, I would say. All right, rotate would be the more appropriate term. So here, because of this particular joint, all right, you see one is fixed and the other is placed on top of that, helping you move. That is how you are able to do this movement. Okay, but then again, you can never turn your head 360 degrees, right? You are not able to turn and look entirely backwards. That's again because of how the joint is placed and all of that. So majorly what we need to understand here is that we see forward and backward movement. So what is forward and backward movement? This, up and down, okay? And then we saw sideways like this and then like this. Okay, so let's see, visualize all this. Alright, so as you can see here, this is the sideways movement that I was talking to you about. Alright, so as you can see here, it is moving from right to left. Next, what we see is that we see forward and backward movement. Okay, and next we see this sort of movement, this rotation that we just did. That is also something that is possible because of your pivot joint that is present in the neck. So in the neck you have two bones. You have one bone which is fixed like this, and upon that you have another bone which is placed in such a way that it can rotate. So this was all about the pivot joint in your neck. Now what I want you to do is, again, let's go back to the exercise that we started with. I want you to stretch your hands out like this, okay, and get it back. So now your hinge joint is working, right? Now what I want you to do is, I want you to rotate your hands like this. See, you are able to rotate it front, you are able to take, a rotation like this. You can rotate it the other way also. Yes. Now imagine I want to do sideways. I can do this, right? I can take it up, I can take it down. Yes, I can also do front and back. Can you see how many different types of movement I was able to do? So that is definitely, I don't think I have pivot joint here, right? Because I don't think I'll be able to rotate like this. Yes, that is why we have another joint that is there in your shoulder that is known as your ball and socket joint. Alright, so this joint is super interesting. Alright, so firstly, we need to know again, why the name? Why do we say it is a ball and socket joint? So that is because we see here that one of the bones has a ball-like head which fits into the socket of another bone. So again, if it is a joint, it's where two bones meet, right? And it enables movement. So you have this ball here which fits on the socket. So that is something where we see in our shoulders and we see in our hip region as well. So just to visualize, can you see how this is the ball-like structure here? Okay, I'm just going to circle it a little. This here is the ball of the bone which is fitting into the socket, and because of this whole property of the fact that it's ball and socket is why you are able to achieve all move. So the movement is in all directions. It's up and down, you can rotate, it's front and back, all forms of things that you can do. That is why you see even when there are cricket players, how do you think a bowler is able to rotate his arm entirely and throw the ball? That is because of this beautiful joint that is your ball and socket joint.